I will call this meeting of the Convention and Visitors Bureau Board to order. And welcome everyone, all of our visitors. Good to see everybody here. And our first order of business is the transition of officers and to install our new officers for the board. And we had a subcommittee to nominate officers for the new board and for the future here for us. And we've come up with some nominees. So I would like to entertain a motion to bring these nominees before the board.
Do you want to say who they are, or is that?
Oh, I apologize. Yes. So let me go over this very quickly. Thank you. We chose to nominate Shay Reynolds for chairman of the board, Damon Ruckel for vice chair, and Wanda Moulton for the treasurer position moving forward. And so what I would like to do is to entertain a motion to install the new nominees for the officers for the board. And then once we establish this, we can have discussion if we would like. So I'll entertain a motion to install the nominees as the new officers for the board.
I'll motion for that.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and second. Is there any discussion we would like, anyone like to talk about? Okay.
I'm good. So.
All right, so with that, I have a motion and a second. So I would like to, all in favor of installing the nominees as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And any opposed? Okay, a motion passes, and our new officers are now officially installed, which leads me to my next thing, to introduce new chairman to you and to turn this meeting over to Dr. Reynolds.
Dr. Reynolds, you're on mute if you're talking.
I think her volume is wonky. Yeah.
Okay. We could play charades, perhaps, or anyone know American Sign Language? We could do that. I'm learning it, but.
In case you didn't see in the chat box, Shay is going to call in. She said the platform isn't working on her computer.
Okay. Okay, well, we can take this moment to, if anyone would look over the minutes, that's our next item, is to approve the minutes from the last board meeting. So as soon as Dr. Reynolds dials in, we will get that done.
Damon, Shay is asking for you to ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we've accepted the minutes. So let's move on to, I believe, financials with Cheryl Bartlett. Cheryl, are you here?
Yes.
All right.
Is Shay back on now somehow?
I am. I think you can hear me now.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I think all of you got the financial statements in your packets. And this is the end of the fiscal year. As most of you know, we end in September. And it's possible that the auditors, when they get hold of this, will make some slight changes. There are rules about restricted and unrestricted funds that there may be some adjustments, but pretty much this is the final for the year. If you look at the statement of activities in the final column, when you get to the end of the year, you should be at 100%. And if you look at those numbers, it's pretty wildly off. And your first thought would be that we did a really, really bad job of budgeting. But you have to remember, we were budgeting in August of 2020 when we knew nothing. We didn't know if we would get any hot tax, how much it would be, what kind of events we would be allowed to have, would be able to have. There were so many unknowns in that budget. So I guess the good news is we came out way ahead of expectations. So that's good. I want to highlight just a few specific things that are they look way off. One of them is the city contribution is at about 80,000 when we budgeted 108. This is because after the first 6 months, the city stopped reimbursing our administrative costs like the original agreement was. They still paid the insurance, the health and dental, the dental benefits, and a few things like that were automatic, but they did not reimburse. I did not bill them, and they did not. Obviously, if I didn't bill them, they didn't pay us. But that's because our hot tax was coming in so much higher than predicted. So that, I mean, it looks like we only met 73% of that budget, but it's because it was intentional since the hot tax was high. The other thing that stands way out is the service, what I call, this was my name for it, servicing and events. There is an income category and there's also an expense category for that. The reason I added these features in, and they were obviously not budgeted because they were not known at the time, is because in lieu of our regular happenings, Joanna and Ashley and Sherry created all of these really cool things like movie nights and at the airport and Knack Snack Fridays and the concerts in the park. And some of these things had ticket sales and sponsorships. So we brought money in. I had to have a way to track that income that came in and the corresponding expenses. So if you look at those two things, the income for that was $25,000, and the servicing and events, actually I split it in two categories, but it's about $30,000. So, and we normally have $5,000 budgeted for that category. So we actually kind of close to breaking even on that. But it's odd on this financial statement because the income was not budgeted and the expenses for the movies and all the expensive things the expenses were not budgeted also. The other thing that is wildly ridiculous is the repairs and improvements, because this includes a little over $7,000 for air conditioning repair and replacement of some, and the basement flooding and cleanup, roof repair and cleanup that was involved in that flooding, because it happened either 2 or 3 times. It was continual for about a week and a half. The total on those is about $19,000 out of the almost $22,000 that's on your financial statement. Originally, the city paid both of those things, but they requested reimbursement from us once the hot tax all came in, so we paid for that. The bank accounts compared the end of last year to right now, the end of September, the checking account, it went from about 47,000 to about 240,000. And the unrestricted funds, which is our merchandise sales and the things that do not use hot tax, went from 74,000 to almost 88,000. So we're in pretty good shape cash flow wise, and hot tax was looking really good in the last few months. I guess Sherry will go over more of that when we get into the occupancy. That's all I have. This, like I said, this is kind of a strange looking end of the year financial statement, but I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody's got.
We spoke at length
Thank
last
you.
week, Cheryl, and my questions are answered.
What?
You and I got to speak at length last week, and
Yes.
my questions are answered.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. I don't believe we need to approve the financials. Is that correct?
I don't know.
No,
Sherry?
we do. We do.
We do?
Yes.
I make a
Okay,
motion
then I'll
to approve
entertain a motion to approve the financials as
Make that motion.
presented. Damon makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think Larry seconded. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I think we're all, I think it's, and we'll hear from Sherry, I'm sure, but seeing that hot tax where it is something that none of us could have anticipated. So, and also seeing how the staff did with the creation of events that were also not anticipated to drive traffic to the city of Nacogdoches is just really amazing. So good job, guys, on that. All right, Ashley, I think you are going to make a report on addressing inclusion on our website.
Yes. Okay, so the driving factor behind this is I am a member of a collaborative group on Facebook of other tourism professionals. It's where we kind of steal ideas from each other and also just kind of keep each other abreast of what's going on socially, economically, things like that. One of the things I noticed is someone posted about choosing destinations based on inclusivity. So do they feel safe visiting the destination based on the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, things like that? I realize that these are difficult issues, and I know that we're a small town in Texas, and there's automatically some assumptions about what our stance might be and things like that. But I think what we can all agree on is that anyone can visit Nacogdoches. We are not going to kick people out or anything like that. Obviously we want everyone to act accordingly and, have good behavior and things like that. But the reason I bring this up is a couple destinations have a specific tab on their website that addresses this, and kind of like there's different ways to do it. Some places list restaurants and bars and things like that that are specifically friendly to like LGBTQ folks or things like that. That is one way to do it, but my personal feelings are to not do that, because then we would be leaving people out when they're not necessarily not friendly. I don't want to accidentally indicate that someone is not friendly. So basically, I'm asking for direction and moving forward. Is this something that you guys would expect to see on a destination's website? Do you have feelings about it? Do you think that we should come up with a blanket statement that kind of addresses all of this, but conveys that everyone is welcome here? But yeah, pretty much that. So I'm going to open up the floor for comments or thoughts or anything like that.
I'm wondering if like part of what could be done is the images that are used just be more kind of inclusive of all different concerns
Absolutely.
or all different types of people, that might kind of have the effect of conveying the same message without being so, like you said, you were trying to avoid maybe like a page on the website or whatever. So maybe that would have the same sort of effect.
I fully agree, and that is something that we've been slowly working toward. We don't want to, solicit people of a certain color or gender or anything like that because we want it to be organic, right? So we're trying to make sure that our photo collection is as inclusive as possible, but part of that is making sure that people of those, walks of life attend our events and things like that. So we can get all inclusive photographs. It's a tricky way to get there, but I appreciate you mentioning that, and that's definitely something we're working toward.
I'd like to say I really don't have a problem with making it look forced. If we have to invite people so that we can show our diversity. I mean, if our board, if we were like, okay, well, let's have a big group photo of the board to show how inclusive we are. Like our makeup right now wouldn't show that, and so just if we're one event, one photographer, a couple photographers, or a couple events may not catch the kind of diversity we're looking for. I think that these things are often staged, and it's just the way it is because I mean, you get the same old thing. Well, the 5 people closest to me were the people who I said, hey, can you pose for this picture, or give me a quote or something like that. And we've all done that. I think if you worked in writing or media at all, but I think we need to get outside of our comfort zone, just because you know we had this discussion last year. A lot of times when we look at our events and our materials on the website, we see, we don't notice the lack of diversity. And, oftentimes in Nacogdoches, it's hard to like stumble upon a super diverse crew unless you're walking around on the college campus. So I think that we should feel totally comfortable staging some of these pictures, and even events saying, you over there, will you cut, y'all mind? Can we put you on the website? All the, you're wearing the right shirt or whatever it is. And then also, I'm not against, you crafting a statement that says, and we would all vote on it, all of that, or decide as a group, but it says something extremely broad, not like we are the new tourist destination for this group, but just say that Nacogdoches is a friendly community and we are open to all sorts of people from all walks of life, and we welcome you to Nacogdoches, and make it a little bit stilted so that they know that what we're doing, but without saying like we're LGBTQ friendly. We like this. We have all of these races are welcome, women and men, gay or straight. I don't think we have to get into specifics, but just let them know we are good, inclusive people who welcome anybody who wants to come to our town here. And then the photos, let's just try and make it look, like a bunch of white people.
Ashley, do we invite or target or mostly invite, not target, influencers from diverse populations to Nacogdoches?
So we have had one influencer so far. Her name is Shalisa. She was fabulous. She was a Black female, and I was really excited to work with her and have her show another side of Nacogdoches from her point of view. But we have not gone beyond that. But we have a new service through Meltwater, which basically links us with influencers, and it is definitely something that we're planning to develop and grow. So I will definitely make a note to try to go for as diverse of influencers as possible.
Yeah, I loved Shalisha. She was great.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Ashley and I had spoken about this, and I agree with everything that's been said so far. I would like to see us have a tab on our website that is open-ended when it comes to inclusivity. And Ashley, Fort Worth, I think, has coined the y'all means all kind of thing, but in that same tone. But that could be a place where our Black-owned businesses live, where our assets that are more conducive to differently abled people physically. you know, our Christ-based, Christian-based businesses that we have. I mean, I think if we leave the tab title open-ended enough to inclusivity, I think it would give us a holding place for a lot of that information that might be of interest to visitors coming in, is where I land on it. But
And I think what really, do something and propose it. I say embrace this and just propose what your ideas are at the next meeting. And if you need any help, I would feel comfortable working on a statement like that, but I don't actually, I think you probably got it under control and have the resources to do it. But I say, move forward with what Sherry's saying and, what we've said. And let's look at what that looks like in real life, in a draft form. And then we can decide from there how to implement it.
Sounds good. Is everyone good with that? I don't think we need a vote. I just need a direction.
Thank you for considering this, and it's great to be in collaboration with our tourism partners across the state, and we definitely want to demonstrate that we are thinking about this really important issue. So thanks a lot. Do I sound okay? Am I squeaky or am I all right?
Good.
Okay, good deal. So on our agenda, the next item is the CVB operations move. The board met in a special call meeting on September 16th. We met with Mario and Brian on that call, and to discuss what some possibilities might look like if the CVB were more fully under the umbrella of the city. Currently, just to kind of give an update of where we stand currently, our board is a little bit different than some of the other boards that are related to city departments or city operations. We are an administrative board, so our board does have more oversight. However, our staff are employees of the city. So we really have our feet sort of firmly planted in two different spots with our 501c6 designation, and then also having a building that we lease from, I guess it's still a lease from the city. That's how it started. And then our employees are city employees and receive city benefits. So we're a little bit of an odd duck, but that's okay. That just makes us unique. And so these conversations really were born out of a conversation, some ideas that I believe Mayor Mize and Mario had this summer, and a few of us spoke with those individuals over the summer just to kind of feel out what that might look like. I believe Mario presented a organizational chart that actually shifted the CVB from Mario's direct report under the community services department of the city, which is Brian Bray's reporting line. And so currently, as we stand, we've got the city council, the mayor, the city council, our city manager, and then we have NEDCO and the CVB, who both have independent status through their nonprofit status. And then underneath that, we have the different divisions of the city. So it was a big, in my mind, it was a big move to move the whole of the block of the CVB underneath a different division of the city. I had some concerns about that, which I voiced on September 16th. And since then, Damon and I and Sherry and Brian and Mark, we've had some continuing discussions just to determine, what that direction might look like. And I think where we stand now, we have a completed agreement for services that was approved at the recent city council meeting. And so that runs through September of 2022. Is that correct, Sherry? We have board members, myself included, and Sarah Drake, that are up for reappointment, in June of 2022. I think we're the only two folks that are up for reappointment at that time. Talking with Sherry, and of course, Sherry, please feel free to weigh in if you like. Anyone else can weigh in. There's some good thoughts about consolidating some of the tourism arm of the city, whether that's historic sites, Main Street to some degree, which does deal with tourism, but is truly an economic driver for the city, or that's the way it should be designated. Currently our Main Street position is vacant, and I know we're hiring for a historic sites position, the city is, but some idea that there would be more of a visitor services piece in line with community services and the other city divisions. So I may not be using the correct terminology, and excuse me if I'm not, but there is a consideration that there's a lot of good that could come with the oversight of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, working more closely with Main Street, working more closely with historic sites, because visitors to Nacogdoches, they don't care and they don't know about the different political divisions, private versus public divisions of tourism. They just want to come to Nacogdoches and have a great time. And they don't understand that Miller's Crossing might be run by a private organization and Durst Taylor and Stern Huya might be run by the city. So it makes no difference to the visitors. So I think that's something that we need to consider. When I met with Mayor Mize, we talked about what that might look like moving forward. And I really don't know I don't have a good idea yet how that might work, but I do think we should continue to explore the idea of Main Street and historic sites that the city operate and staff, and the CVB being more of a cohesive component. I still have a very great desire for the CVB to maintain a 501c6 independent status because of the way CVBs are governed across the country. That's a very typical form of governance. And some CVBs are fully a department of cities, but that does disallow for them to be as fleet on their feet in marketing needs and budgeting and all sorts of things. So I'm very aware of that, and I think that my cautiousness in trying to move into a different configuration is born out of that concern. So I wanted to, Damon, you jump in there if I've misspoken or if I've said something incorrect, but and Sherry, you too. So I just wanted to give an update on where we are. We're not we're not voting today on any kind of operational move, but we are, and we need to continue to explore what the options are that's going to be best for getting heads in beds and visitors to Nacogdoches.
All right, I'm going to kind of pick up, and y'all that who have worked with me, you know that I'm a little blunter than Shay is. And two, I'm so sorry. I know this is very rude, but I've got to leave in about 20 minutes to pick up my son and get him to an appointment. And I'm sad that I have to do that because I feel like this is a big day for the CVB and what we're talking about here. As Shay said, that Mario had personally approached several of us, I think during the summer, and we talked to him and kind of understood, some of what he was talking about, but it really came into clear view at last month's CVB meeting when we actually found ourselves in the position of, deciding whether or not, we're going to move forward with something like this. And I, for one, was taken off guard. It was like all of a sudden, like we were there and it was happening, and I didn't fully understand it, and so it was very surprising. So in the interim, I have done a little homework and gotten a chance to talk to Mario, gotten to sit down with Sherry and Shay, and gotten a chance to talk to Jimmy and to talk to a couple other of our city councilmen, two other of our city council members. And what this is, and you can imagine this from a managerial standpoint. Mario is the city manager. He has a flow chart, and we saw that his flow chart, which was a proposal for how we might leave where we are in that and where we might go. And, when in my conversations with, well, let me back up. Shay and I had real concerns, and I think Sherry did, and I think all of us did, about this being absorbed in the city. And the reason that we have those concerns are, uh, you know, travel and tourism right now is its own separate thing. The only people that look at our budget, look at hot tax, and look at how to spend that are people who are 100% dedicated to growing travel and tourism, dedicated to putting heads in beds. We have no other agenda of city business, and most of us aren't involved in any other business than that. And that's the way I think it should be. I think that a CVB to remain strong and vital in a community and actually put heads in beds, we need to be an independent organization. The reason that I make that conclusion is because if we look across Texas at CVBs who were in our position previously, and then they moved to become a sub-department of the city, travel and tourism in those cities that we've identified that have done that, it has fallen off. And it's not by nobody's fault. What really happens is that you have managers. We were proposed to go under Parks and Recreation. That would be under Brian, and I think that Brian Bray is here on the call with us. And Brian has a lot to cover with Parks and Recreation. He has a lot of facilities. I think he's also got historic sites right now, and he's all over the place. And I think that's the way he likes it. He likes the action. He likes his job. He likes working hard, and he's been doing it a long time. But the thing of that is that I think that the CVB is big enough where it needs to remain independent and doesn't need to become just another work item on a big desk full of work items. And so for the reason that we've seen it become diluted and weakened in other communities that made that move. That's one reason why I do not think that this is a good move for us. I think remaining independent, kind of like NEDCO is what's best for the CVB and what's best for our mission of putting heads in beds, which is the sole criteria I used in evaluating this. Also, we would lose our 501c6 status, which would limit our movement, our ability to work with the community, take donations, have them know what box to put it in on their taxes, and to host the variety of events that we have. I think that it would become a lot more cumbersome doing it without the 503c6, and so I don't want to lose that nonprofit organization status for the CVB. And then also just being, and this isn't a concern that I would have with Brian, Mario, or our current city council at all. And I've spoken to them about this, and that's how I really know that we don't have that concern. But what we've seen when we've looked around at other CVBs who've been absorbed is their budget and the hot tax ends up kind of getting mulched in with the rest of whoever's department they fall under. And that is a very real concern because there are a large number of things that the city could do to put heads in beds that are no part of our agenda or our program at the CVB. We're using that for different types of things that are entirely travel and tourism focused and not focused on something else. For instance, an example would be hot tax could theoretically be used to build a baseball stadium. And it would take all of it, probably take a couple years of it to build it and maintain it. And baseball stadiums are proven to put heads in beds. But that's not how I think that we want to run our CVB. I think we want to use our hot tax for marketing, advertising in magazines, marketing campaigns like we have a knack for that. The brilliant campaign that Hancock Advertising brought us, and I still love that campaign. We want to use it for that. We want to use it on, to pay experts like Sherry and like Ashley to do their job, and Joanna to do their jobs, which is only engaged in putting heads in beds and boosting travel and tourism in Nacogdoches. I think that moving to a department under the city would greatly hinder us. And I would say looking 12, 24, 36 months, 5 years, 10 years down the road, we will see the activity behind putting heads in beds greatly diluted if we make this move. So, we went to the sources. I talked to some city council members, talked to the mayor, talked to the city manager, talk to some other folks at the city, and ask what was driving this. And really, what was driving their desire to do this, or at least my impression of it is just to have tighter oversight and tighter overlap between the CVB and other departments, so that Sherry, at the end of the day, Shay and I, we have jobs and other jobs that we get paid for, and so we can't have our eye on everything. So that puts a lot more burden of responsibility on Sherry to dot every I and cross every T, because the buck stops with her. It doesn't go to a city manager. It doesn't go to city council. It stops with her, and ultimately it stops with us. And so, I think that for us to avoid people thinking that we aren't organized enough to remain independent means that we need to really tighten our organization. And I'm not saying that that has to do with our staff. I think it has to do with the board, the staff, all of us. And then also, we need to be hyper aware of our relationships with city employees. We operate in a lot of ways independently, but our employees, Joanna, Ashley, Sherry, and Mike, are all city employees. And if there's some misunderstanding between them and the city, and we don't know anything about it, then we could lose one of our employees, could be terminated, and we would not know why, and we wouldn't have been any part of it. And it would be all over before we could even react or try and fix the situation. So, what I'm proposing, one of the things I'm proposing is that our board tighten up. When you look at the NEDCO board, now they're all buddies and everything like that, and have been working on this for years all together, but they are an extremely cohesive board. And I would imagine that they are doing activity with NEDCO every week. And so, now that I'm an officer here, I feel like I should be doing activity with the CVB every single week. And, I'm going to commit to you that that's what I'm going to work towards doing. And Shay has made similar overtures to me that she would like to do the same, so that we can take some of that backstop pressure off of our employees and allow them to do what they do best. Also, we don't operate independently because we have to operate, when we host an event, we have to talk to Brian, because more than likely it's going to be on one of his properties. We're going to have to talk to CV, or the person who interacts with us at the police department, and the person that interacts with us at fire department, and the person that interacts with us at sanitation. So, as independent as we are, and as we want to remain, we will always be extremely integrated with the city. That's where our employees' paychecks come from. We need them to do our events, and we need to have very strong relationships with them. I think also what Shay said is that, in the discussions with them, and how can we make the CVB more cohesive with downtown Main Street? And then we don't have anybody in that position now, so it's not like anything that we haven't been doing, but in the future, how can we do that? And if there's not anyone in that position, we need to be the people letting the downtown business owners know when we're going to be blocking off the streets, when we're going to have events that they want to really shine for, so they can sell their products, and be aware that there's going to be an influx on this particular day. And then, as another thing, just because times are tough everywhere, I think that the city may need some help with historic sites. And my understanding in talking with Sherry is that she is extremely sympathetic with that. She appreciates our historic sites here in Nacogdoches. I don't want to put words in her mouth. And we all kind of agreed that if we could find a way to logistically do it, and to pay for it, and to staff it, that it would make a lot of sense, because a lot of our tourism is historical site based, that we would be involved in that. A lot of our tourism is intended to drive the economy. So being in touch with business owners downtown, and event-based business holders and hotels, which we already are, I think it makes a lot of sense for us to do that. And those are kind of the things that, all the things I'm talking about here are kind of the things that made the city think that maybe, made the city council and the city manager think maybe we do need to become a department of the city. But what I say is, if we all step up, we can retain our autonomy, and it will be what is best for putting heads in beds today, tomorrow, and on into the future. But to do that, we need to keep the folks of the city happy. They need to know that we're communicating with them well, and be very transparent with them, I mean, we should all, if there's any meeting that they want us at, one or all or a couple of us should be there. Anytime it's suggested that a CVB person representative be there, a CVB person has to be there. Otherwise, we will drift off from the forward-thinking conversations going on in that meeting, and we will lose our way. So, those are kind of my thoughts. And to recap it all, is that I feel strongly that we remain independent. And to remain independent, we are going to have to work harder as a board, work more closely with our staff, and work harder with the city and Brian and Mario and anybody, and sanitation and the police department, so that the work that we could be doing doesn't just fall onto Brian and Mario. We want to take it off of them so that they don't feel that they have to take ownership of it. And if we're doing it, they'll be fine doing their normal workload. So, that's kind of it. Let's stay independent and let's work hard to do it. And let's be very communicative with the city. And that's all I have on it.
Thanks, Damon. That's a lot. It's a lot to take in and to think about. Other thoughts or discussion?
What is the timeline for making a decision?
I don't know that there's a timeline necessarily. I do think that we need to pretty thoughtfully start looking at the Main Street historic sites, more of a visitor services division, how that might line out. So I'd like to explore that first before we, and do that, by the beginning of the new year. Primarily because if there was a way that we could combine or look at the board of Main Street or something to get some more representation from those other entities as part of this board, that would happen. The reason I brought up Sarah's term and my term, those appointments happen in June. If we need to expand the board, if we need to look at, those types of things, I think June would be the time to make some of that happen. But I really would like to, between now and the first of the year, again, meet with Mario, talk to Brian, keep these discussions open as far as how a consolidated visitor services plan might move forward. So, and Alex had a great question in the chat. Has anyone asked Joanna, Sherry, Ashley, et cetera, their opinion on it, preferences, since they're the ones this is going to affect the most?
I mean, I'm just legitimately would like to know. I mean, it's their job.
Good question. Joanna?
We have expressed a lot of our opinion to Sherry, but I would at this point rather speak individually to it because it affects Ashley and I the most. And I'm in agreement with Damon. That much I can say. Some of the things Damon shared, I think, need to be discussed with us, but we have the full support of Sherry. We know we have your support, but there are things that occur on a day-to-day basis that you're not aware of and you should be aware of. And that is me being extremely nice.
Ashley?
Oh, goodness. To say that it's an uncomfortable situation is an understatement. I don't feel comfortable fully divulging all of the details in this manner. It feels weird. What I will say is I do believe that there are some misconceptions, and Damon, this is nothing against you, but just a moment ago you said something that, and I think I saw the fire light up behind Joanna's eyes. You mentioned getting, helping Mario and Brian put on these events. And talking to Public Works, Fire, all of those, that is solely Joanna. Joanna is organizing these meetings and planning out, making sure that everyone knows what's going on and is aware. And it's something that we just took on in December, and it's been a feat, to say the least. And but she's taken it in grace, and I don't think that people understand what all she does. And so I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on, and a lot of things could be framed as making it easier on the CVB, whereas it might be making it harder on the CVB. And just from my experience talking to other tourism professionals at TICVB back in August, all of the ones that we spoke to that were under the city were very unhappy with the decision and felt that their freedoms to market and to hold events were extremely limited. They had additional hoops to jump through. And so, to be completely honest, that doesn't sound like a good thing to me. But I realize that I don't have the years of experience that our leaders do, and I'm happy to listen to all the possibilities. But it did feel a bit rushed, and I so appreciate you, Alex, saying that, because that is the first time that anyone has asked Joanna and I how we feel, besides Sherry. Sherry has, but nobody else has, and we are the main people that it affects.
Yeah, I mean, I just figured if we're going to sit here and make a decision, I would love to know how the people that this decision is going to affect the most, how they feel about it, and what their opinions are. I mean, I want to do what's best for the CVB. That's why I'm here, and I don't want to make a decision too hastily, and especially one that the people that are going to be working in that building day to day hates. So why? I mean, that would be counterproductive. So. And again, if you guys want to have individual conversations with us off of, then we can totally do that too. So
could I say something? I'm thoroughly confused at this point because after the last meeting with the city manager, I was under the impression that we really didn't even have to make a decision. Decisions were already made. And then now today, I'm hearing that there's discussions going on offline that I know nothing about, nor I assume other members of the board know nothing about. And I'm also hearing that we have to make a decision. So at this point, I'm thoroughly confused.
Let me clear something up really quick.
I appreciate what Alex said. I will say when Mario contacted me originally about this, I said, I want to hear what the staff has to say.
And I want to say, I want to add this. I really feel like after talking to Mario, Jimmy, and the other council members, that the choice is ours. If, you know, here's the sort of thing. If they lose confidence in us in any way, and I'm gonna definitely meet with Joanna and Ashley. I've met with Shane, I met with Sherry, and we definitely need to meet with Joanna and Ashley. So, you know, I'm just saying what I perceive to be the case is that if we're doing everything that the city council and the city manager want us to do, then we will maintain our autonomy. If there's a poor communication or a gap between those expectations and what's being delivered, then this will be an ongoing discussion. And, you know, ultimately, you know, the powers that be will be able to act outside of the board, because we serve at city council's leisure. And so if the city council and the city manager are determined that the only way we will function at our best is if we become a city department, then, you know, there may be legal battles, there may be fights, it can drag on for however long, but at the end of the day, we will become if that's what the city council and the city manager want, we will become a department of the city. If they don't want that, then we'll maintain our autonomy. And so my thought in this is, and I'm a salesperson, you know, I have a business that is in the business of selling people hopefully what they want. And so my thought on this is, and I've had this kind of confirmed by the city manager and the city council, which is if we're doing everything to their expectations, then we won't have to talk about this anymore. And so, you know, I think that, you know, really the plan that, you know, we're getting together to talk about is not a plan to integrate the CVB into the city government, because we have staved off that threat for the time being. You know, to put it in blunt terms, we have stayed off that threat for the time being. It is not permanently stayed off, and they can bring it up at any point they want to again. But we can avoid it being brought up again by doing all the things that we are good at doing and just tightening the ship of communication between each other and the city. I really believe that.
I would like to chime in here and maybe provide some perspective that I know I'm guilty of just taking for granted that everybody knows. So CVBs are ran differently dependent upon their community, and that's one of the neatest things about um, DMOs, destination management offices like ours, is that they can be nuanced to best fit the needs of their host communities. So there are some that are a part of the chamber, and that's what this organization was up until 1996. We were an arm of the Chamber of Commerce. There are others that are departments of the city. Where I came from in Conroe, it was a department of the city, and it was under it switched between Parks and Rec and Economic Development in my 5 years there. Or there are some individual independent organizations, such as Denton, and there are lots of different entities around Texas that are independent in and of themselves. So what we have is when I came in 2017, we became a very unique hybrid so that in recruiting staff members, we could offer the benefit packages of that the city employees share. And that was a great thing, and it's worked so far. And I think with new leadership that comes in, there are new ideas. And um, I am I I am in the minority that I do not share in fearing going under the city arm, just because that's where I was raised. When I was a baby CVB person in Conroe, we operated every day as a part of the city, and it never was an issue. I'm fast to say the other side of that coin is I have seen and know of peers of mine in other destinations that were not as lucky as that. So it is very much a case by case basis. I think the best thing about this is um, that we don't have to make a decision right now. I think to Larry's point, there was a lot of confusion about, okay, are we going to vote on this? No, we're not going to vote on this. I just want to make sure um, that you're on board with this, that we can further investigate. And then all of a sudden, organizational charts are being made that show the move already being made. So I think there were just a lot of missed communications and miscommunications in this whole process that probably could have been avoided in hindsight where we sit right now. But I think it's important for staff um, to not lean into an adversarial vantage point of this situation, because at the end of the day, to go back around to how Shay started this conversation, the visitor, the tourist, the guest does not know any of this backstory that we've spent the last 20 minutes talking about, nor do they care, nor should they care. And I know I have full confidence that Brian and his leadership of community services, Mario and his leadership of the city, our mayor and city council, Larissa Philpott over in Nedco. I know that every day we show up to do the best job that we can for the citizens, where that's appropriate, where that's our target audience, or to the guests. And we are all working towards enhancing and moving forward the brand of Nacogdoches. So it's gonna be okay. And I think this board fully appreciates the hard work and efforts of Joanna and Ashley, and I have been a strong proponent of them voicing their concerns where they feel it needs to be. And I have shared with them, my viewpoints and, you know, how I see we best need just to move forward, because what we don't have is the luxury of time to sit and have nurse hurt feelings or anything, because every day our doors open and visitors come in and we close our doors, and the next day they come back. So I think with with our new leadership and Shay and Dana and Wanda, and as we can educate the rest of the board in this, I think cooler heads will prevail and we can all come together. And Larry, it is a decision. Mario and Brian and Mayor Mize, they are not looking to be overlords in this and force something upon us. They very much want to, and have spoken to me specifically about addressing any concerns that this board might have.
I'm going to have to go to another meeting, but just before I leave, I would just say to Shay, in the future, when there are discussions that are going on behind the scenes, as a board member, I would just appreciate some update on what's going on behind the scenes, so that I don't come to a board meeting and not really know what's being discussed. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure, of course. Any other discussion? Okay, we can move on to our next agenda item, our staff report. I think we'll hear from Sherry first.
Yeah, so did I unmute myself?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. TACVB report, we did go back in August. Ashley and Joanna and I, we were able to take part in some great sessions and peer-to-peer sharing. I walked away with sort of a new focus, a whole concept of destination master planning. I thought that was amazing. And I really want to dig deeper into that, because I think it could really help us connect some dots here in Nacogdoches. And then I'm very proud to say that we walked away with 2 awards from TACVB for our marketing efforts. One was it We Bend Not Break, and Making Hipstery, right, Ashley?
Yes, and there was a third one. It was our drive-in movies. Sorry.
Okay. Ashley and I sat down with Chris Hancock, and we decided that this year we want to highlight the faces and the stories behind our assets. So we want to know the story of what drives Brendan to be a great pitmaster. We want to know the David Creech and the Angela Wiederholds, the forces behind our SFA gardens. We want to see the faces of the volunteers of the OUB. And so hopefully our addressing our 5 marketing pillars, we can put faces to concepts, because I think that really lends towards our brand identity. And that's something that sets us apart and makes us so special, are our characters and the stories behind why we have what we have. And we're also going to start test marketing. I don't know how many still on the call remember when Hancock brought us, we have a knack for that. They also brought us a campaign, It's in Our Nature. And we very much liked both of those. We went with we have a knack for that. But I think in the Texas Events Guide and Calendar, we're going to sort of test run and It's in Our Nature ad to see if it's time to refresh. And that way we still very much love our badge concept with We Have a Knack for That. Hopefully we'll never fully depart from that. But as we look into refreshing and starting, attracting more people, we're going to try out that It's in Our Nature. We're going to be bringing back in the visitor center a pedestal iPad. Our last one broke. And so we're going to be using that for additional guest info capture. It'll be a digital sign-in book, a Visit NAC app demo. People will be able to look at our app and see its functionality before they download it on their phone if they'd like. And then also access to our online storefront. We are able, through our affiliation with Texas Forestry, to have an online store, which requires us to carry no inventory. They're a third party entity that prints on demand and does the postage straight for them. So we can have as many items as we want in different colors of shirts, styles of shirts, everything. We can just load that up with designs and people can order that and it will be shipped directly, direct shipped to their homes. So looking forward to getting that iPad. I was able to get a refurbished iPad with a guarantee for very inexpensively, and a new security pedestal for it to stay on safely. So looking forward to having that back. I've also been busy stocking our storefront, online and brick and mortar, with holiday gift items. We've got a new mug design, a new hoodie design. Even my staff doesn't know that I found an umbrella design where you open the umbrella and the inside of the umbrella is you're in a pine forest looking straight up. They're super cool. Long sleeve shirts and a Case and Monk Toyland addition to our legacy line of shirts of Kennedy's Jewelers and Mize. Case and Monk Toyland will join that. So we're super excited about all of that. We have been blessed beyond measure with the number of people utilizing us and buying our merchandise. And I think that shows in our financials. Just, we are constantly reordering shirts. And so that's a really good problem to have. Happy for it. Included in your board book at the end page was the most recent Smith Travel Research Report. You can look that over. I'll give you the highlights. For the month of September, hotel occupancy was at 51.6%, which was up 10% over September 2020. That brought us year to date to hotel occupancy on average of 52%, which was up 25%. And then running 12 was at hotel occupancy was at 48.9%, which was up 14.2% over last year. So at this point, we have sort of the breadth to look back over the pandemic, and we can see that we lost about 25% of our tourism because due to the pandemic, which we were really expecting, forecasting at half to 75%. I mean, we just didn't know. We were still just guessing. So we were slow to lose business and quick to recover, and we are all the happier for that. You might notice that there's a lot of people in town, especially around the Fredonia. Joanna will tell you about the group that's in there, TFA. They came in on Monday, and I believe they leave tomorrow. Another item that we are going to be selling is a new cookbook. We're going to do a community cookbook. In the past, Main Street has done a Main Street specific cookbook, but we're going to reach out to everybody in Nacogdoches to do a cookbook. Pretty fast turnaround time. We'll be collecting recipes through October so that November can be production, and we will have them on hand for December for people to purchase. And I would like for our board members to submit recipes for that. I bet Ashley just put a link to the website. We've got paper forms available that you can pick up here at the visitor center, or there is a landing page on our website. Visit nac.com/cookbook, and it's a online fillable PDF that we'll email to Ashley. Excited about that. And lastly, I will be working on volunteer recruitment, transitioning that into our volunteers becoming more ambassadors with training, where they'll be armed with specific talking points to our various sites and attractions. And that concludes my report.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself here. Thank you, Sherry. There's a lot going on. I just think everything that you guys are doing, it's just it's a lot, but it's going to be awesome. So thank you for that report. Joanna, you want to catch us up to date on sales and promotions?
Yes, we do have a lot going on. We got a lot of people visiting into town this weekend. It's very busy. We're kicking off, in addition to just the fun stuff that are happening at our privately held venues, obviously Fredonia Brewery being one of them. We've got a ton of that, but just as far as what is permitted through the city, we've got our full moon concert scheduled this Friday. It will be the last one of the year for our Knack Snack Friday. I do believe that when you provide kind of something cool to the city on a consistency, having an end date makes them look forward to it more the next year. It also allows us to maybe regroup, look at potentially new food trucks, and if there's anything we want to switch up, basically the same concept but something different. It's amazing how you can regurgitate stuff and people think it's brand new and shiny. So we will crank that back up again in February, but again, this Friday will end the Knack Snacks as we know it. We're going to move down into the park. This will be our last of the series of the full moon concerts for this year. Part of that being, seeing the direction of which the CVB was going to go into. Event marketing has not been, we're all good at it because we've all been on this earth for a minute, but sales, obviously, we had to switch it up, being that people weren't flocking here during the COVID. It made sense. It's a lot of fun. I still believe it's something I want to market to SFA with, alumni, people that have been here or haven't been back in 30, 40, 20 years. Think of music and why we can't market more with SFA. And I'm saying this out loud because of folks that are on this call that work for SFA. Why we can't be promoting more with the reunions to come and be a part of our concerts, because they were at that original concert, when they were here, or they listened to that playlist back in the day. It's just a great way to get people here that have not been back in a while and that can come back now and have money to spend, because they sure didn't have it as a freaking student. So full moon concert, 60s tribute band, Fab Five, they're huge. They dress up as the Beatles. There is a costume change. They sing Rolling Stones, the Hollies, all kinds of good stuff. It is our top seller thus far with ticket sales. Ash did a good thing and put on there, if you can't get tickets at the door, it's going to be $5 more. And so we've got people buying more online and coming into our place. The next morning we have, I want to say we have a 5K. I know we have a walk to end Alzheimer's that's down at the park. So they're going to be utilizing what's left of the concert setup. They're going to be walking through town. Great event, always successful. That afternoon, we do have the Knack Democrat Fall Kickoff. That too will be in the park, still gated. They'll have activities down there, but that should be a fun event, food trucks as well. During the full moon concert, we're going to have a special section for our cigar, Nacogdoches cigar, Tobaccodoches visitors, mainly their vendors. And so what we'll do is we'll bump out a section for the smoking section, kind of back in the day. We'll have a fan over there. But the idea to bring vendors that are coming in that are also spending quite a bit of money and offering quite a bit of product to not only folks here in Nacogdoches, but primarily from out of town. We wanted to show them a full weekend of fun things. There's events going on at Stone House. They everything Crystal Hicks with her name on it is happening. And then the following weekend, we've got Monster Mash. That's our downtown shops are going to be doing their own trick or treat version from 10 to 4. So we'll have lots of walking folks downtown, along with the SFA homecoming parade. Probably will be one of the better ones in many years, simply because we hadn't had one. So people will appreciate it. And then we are loaded up in November. And I think what I'm going to do for you guys is kind of send to you what I do, the city, what's coming for the week up. So you can just kind of put your eyes on it and see that we are doing a lot of work and producing quite a bit from this mighty team of 4. We have our first, what I consider cultural event, where Day of the Dead, this year was the first year we had a committee developed where they absolutely went in deep with our Hispanic community, have Spanish speaking folks on that committee to really make it true and cultural. And most importantly, I hope not only from NAC ISD, but also Lufkin ISD, to bring in the kiddos and also for us. I mean, I did a report on Day of the Dead so I could understand what it meant and really that educational side of it and how it is a celebration and not a Debbie Downer event. Anyway, this weekend we do, or right now we have the Texas Forestry Associations. They're here every year. They have packed the Fredonia with 280 folks. I was able to facilitate a spouse event with 12 lovely ladies today. We hit the streets. We went to Pemberley's, Stonehouse, shopping. Probably think they're over at the cottage about now. That's where I would be. And then tonight they have a lot of fun events planned back at the hotel. But that's always fun, is to have the spouse events and them contacting the CVB. Cool thing that's happening over at the Fredonia, we've lost Ryan Russell to some better things, but in his place, there is a lady that I'm going to be working closely with on doing more and being utilized as a resource for the hotel. Granted, they have amazing events and that kind of stuff, but I'm talking everything outside of the hotel that we could be helping them with. That's, to me, part of our services that we provide. Spouse events, it gets them out to other people in other businesses here locally that otherwise they wouldn't know about unless they work with the CVB. So hopefully Candace, I'm putting her on spot and letting John hear that. Looking forward to working with her and doing some more of those things. The young lady that put together this spouse event, she is an artist, a chef. She is a creative soul. She gave me a bag today for helping her, and it was loaded. Ashley and I took it apart and we were like, oh my God, this is so cool. We could hire her to do some kind of homegrown goodies. And one of the things she had in it was an itinerary that just the layout of it was amazing. So here's this woman that's not even involved in building day in, day out itineraries that provided us on the marketing side something great. So we're going to steal it, use it, reproduce it, maybe throw some love back if she can put some packages together as groups come back to us as gift items. But the whole itinerary thing brings me into what we've created here more recently called Booze Clues. And it's really a sip and stroll, something that we've had as a spinoff that's walkable from our Wine, Whiskey, and Brew. It's Booze Clues because it's October, but in November it could be, you know, visitors are coming, so have a drink on us or something. I don't know. But Turkey trot, there you go. November, December, but throughout the year, I know I've worn Ashley out, but online it's the same thing. You sign up. We've got 8 identifiable places here downtown. They choose 4. There's food, there's drink, there's activities. There's an element of surprise in there where they do kind of a, what do you call the hunt? Scavenger hunt, questions, taking pictures, put them back up on our, putting pictures back on our, sharing on our Instagram, things like that, that we hope will keep people coming back. And so again, one of those things that we can have evergreen wise, but just recreate it to kind of fit the mold of whatever's happening in our world. I have a meeting with the Dragon and Pullin folks, Pullin in the Pines. I don't know if anybody made it down to Lufkin/Diboll this past weekend. This was an event that was brought to us earlier this year to try to have out at the airport. It was unfortunately not something we could do. It may not be something we can do. I mean, this is a big event, but I very quickly put in the number of folks that attended, as well as the percentage of spectators, as well as average stays in a hotel. And that puppy brought in almost $1 million of sales taxes. So it's definitely worth looking at and seeing if it's something we can provide or at least create for these folks. You would not believe the money that was happening down there, and these amazing trucks that I'm sure don't travel regularly on the roads are gorgeous. Other than that, the CVB will be participating in the Christmas window decorating contest for downtown. I've already gotten permission. That will be our stage area. So we're going to be decking that out using a local artist. I'm going to leave it at that because it's a surprise. And that's my report for this month. Thank you.
But Joanna, there's nothing to do in Nacogdoches. So,
yeah.
Joanna, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just wanted to say, well, thank you for giving us your report, but also, you know, we had a lot of conversations last week, and you know, sort of what I reported to y'all was what's important and you know, germane to what we're doing, which is the feedback I got back from the city on, you know, sort of that mostly had to do with really just communicating and all of that. But what the story that wasn't told was how we represented the CVB, and what Shay and I said time and time again, and I said it time and time again, not because anyone's doubting it, but because I want everybody to know it, is I don't think that we could put together a better team. You know, I've been on this board 4 or 5 years now, and the events that we do have just gotten bigger, better, and more attended during that time. And I attribute that to, you know, Sherry's coming on board, Joanna's just unbelievable drive to sell Nacogdoches as a visitor destination, and just the energy and creativity and intelligence that Ashley brings to the table. Like, we have the dream team, and we're coming out of this rough time, but I feel like y'all did a fantastic job even during the last year and a half when nobody was supposed to be doing anything. Like, we kept travel and tourism and fun events, especially for us, and you know, the ones that were socially distanced and safe. Y'all really rolled with the punches, and I thank y'all so much for your hard work, and thank you, Joanna, for just everything you do. Like, I think that I could give you a tube of elk glue and a ball of string, and you could put up a stage and have a band there like in 24 hours. Like, it blows my mind. Also, to that end, one of the things that I got from Mario and also from one of the city council members is they want to see a calendar. And I think I emailed you and Sherry about this, but just as fast as I can get a calendar of what we have scheduled out and tentatively scheduled out over, you know, going as far as we have into 2022 would really be well received. Just because we know what we're doing, but they've asked me to show them what we have in the works, and I want to be able to do that as quickly as possible, just so that, you know, they know that this is their first time to work with me, you know, my first meeting today as the vice president, and I just want to be able to deliver to them everything they expect of me. So if whatever, just give it to me. And then in the future, it got me thinking that, like, if we could have something internal that, you know, that all of the board members had, that say Brian and Mario and anybody else that we work closely with at the city would have access to, might be something that we want to think about. I don't know. Y'all probably know better than I would, but more than anything, email me one.
Address that. Yeah, let me address that. I already sent you a connection to that. At least old school. The girls know here, I have been driving them nuts about, and it's just a matter of what we have within our current CRM / Simple View model. And so for the public, you have to scroll. It's ridiculous. And one of the reasons why, even before Ash came, I came up with this, what's happening, because it's not visible enough for people like myself, because I want to see what's going on in a week, in a month. We just don't have that. But as far as the internal promotions calendar, everybody in the city that you've already mentioned has been invited to it months ago. So they do have access to it. And I've already sent you access to that today earlier. You just have to press on it and like it. But they all have the events and promotions calendar, which was created 6 months ago. Whenever we got, whenever I was brought in now to do the permitting and to now suddenly having to do all events, they got it. It's already done, and it's been done for months.
Thanks, Joanna. And I know you guys are, 2022 is almost in your rearview mirror because y'all are probably planning for 2023, 24, and 25. So but that's great. And thanks for making that calendar available previously. And we'll just remind folks that it's out there. So Ashley, you want to give us a lowdown on marketing?
Yeah, sure thing. Just to echo what Joanna said, the calendar on our website, you do have to scroll. It's not the best format. We've talked with Simple View about it. They are agreeing to fix it for a huge chunk of change. So next year, our contract with Simple View is up, and we are looking at a couple of other potential CMS website hosts, because we really want people to be able to see that calendar view that Damon and you and everyone are requesting, because that's how we like to look at things too. If you can see in my background, we have a giant calendar because we prefer to look at things that way. But it is a Google Calendar. Anyone can subscribe to it. If you're having trouble, just let me or Joanna know, and we can definitely get y'all on. It is not secret or anything like that. We want everyone to know what's going on. And then, okay, so marketing stuff. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. The cookbook that Sherry talked about, like she said, we're going to move very quickly on it. One of the mistakes that I feel I made with the love letters book was I gave way too long of a window for people to give me their letters, and they procrastinated, and a lot of people didn't get them to me. That being said, the love letters book is still happening. It is in the design stage right now, and it will be available in mid-November. If you are on this call and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do my letter and I really want it in, if you email it to me by tomorrow, it can make it into the book, but otherwise the doors are shut and we're going to production. And that is largely thanks to our new intern. I wish she could be here for y'all to meet her, but her name is Brianna. She's at SFA. She is graduating at the age of 21 years old. She's graduating early. She is a brainiac, very smart, very quick to catch on to things. She's already very familiar with our website and like submitting events and things like that. So she helped me with those letters today, because I frankly just don't have the time to design a book right now, and she did it so quickly. So I'm so grateful for her, and I can't wait for y'all to meet her. I think she's going to be with us until the end of the year. Wanda, can you not hear me? Oh, okay. Sorry, I saw a note from Wanda that says she can't hear me or something.
She's not getting your comments in the chat.
And for me, you're freezing out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know. It must be just me, Suddenlink probably. So go ahead, proceed.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. And just some update on the website. We had 8,000 people find us on Google last month. Our app downloads are continuing to progress. We had, let's see, 26 new downloads just last week. And so it's just so nice to see those little green numbers with the up arrow constantly. It means we're doing something right over here. And we're continuing to do the what's happenings, even though I never fail to miss something because I am not all knowing. Please tell your friends if they're having an event, the best way to get it in front of me is to submit it online. Just visit nacogdoches.org, click events, submit event. Let's see, I feel like there was something else I was going to tell y'all. Oh yeah, I put the cookbook link in the caption or in the chat, sorry. Please submit your cookbook recipes by the end of October. Really by the end of this week would be the best, but I get it. Everyone has things to do. I was going to talk about it's in our nature, but Sherry talked about that already, so it's fine. Oh, and other things I'm excited about our intern. She has come up with some ideas for us for TikTok and Pinterest, which are two social media platforms that I really just have not been able to get on because of all the things that we're constantly doing, but that I want to get onto. So I'm really grateful for our intern. As you can see, I really wish I could cut myself in half and put one part in doing one thing and the other, but many hands make light work. And speaking of that, we are still looking for volunteers for our concert tomorrow. Due to personal reasons, I will not be able to help this time. Contrary to popular belief, Joanna and I actually put those events on completely by ourselves with our muscles, and usually my husband helps, but he won't be able to this time either for personal reasons. And so we could use all of the help we could get, preferably those with muscles. So that concludes my report.
Well, I don't have muscles, but I'm going to help Piper, my future daughter-in-law, and I are going to come help set up. Then I've got to get a kid to the homecoming game, and then I think Wanda's going to help tear down. Is that right, Wanda?
Yes.
Wanda probably has more muscles than I do, but anyway.
And what I mean by that is, you know, we're carrying chairs and tables and tents and things like that. Usually what we try to do is carry as many as possible so we can get out of there ASAP. But if we have 12 people carrying like 2 chairs, it's the same amount of work and a less amount of time. You know what I mean? So like I said, many hands make light work.
I'll be there.
What was that, Wanda?
I'll be there after the concert to help tear down, but I can't do anything in my pickup. My truck. It'll only okay. All right.
You get it. No, it's okay. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law will be there with their vans to help cart things up the hill, and then Joanna has a truck. So we should be good transportation-wise. We just need more people to move the stuff to the downstairs basement of the CVB.
Now the sign up actually said at 10:30 because was it 9:30 or 10:30?
I think I said 10:30, but honestly, whatever time. That was just
well, I don't get out to the winery till 9, but out of finished.
Oh, okay.
But I'll
That's
be drive in as soon as I get done. Okay.
Sarah, for setup, we're going to be doing it all day, probably from 4 p.m. to 6:30 when the gates open.
Okay.
I'll be there at 4, Ashley.
Okay, sounds good. Thank y'all.
Real quickly, I wanted to add that our team is a great team, and a very vital member of this team is Cheryl Bartlett, who puts up with my always late credit card reconciliations and gets Joanna checks whenever she needs them. So she is often overlooked when people reference the CVB team, but trust and believe we would not be able to function without her. So thank you, Cheryl, for all that you do for us. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. I don't think Mike is. Oh, there's Mike. Hey, Mike. You want to give us a report?
Good afternoon, everybody. September was a busy month for visitors. We welcomed over 850 folks in September. And we get compliments every day about the visitor center, and they love Nacogdoches and downtown. And it's an easy sale, as I say, and I'm a salesman, so it's an easy sale. That's really all I have, just to tell you the numbers we had coming in September.
And if I had a nickel for every time someone walked in and said, "I'm moving here," I wouldn't need this job anymore. So.
Yeah, and a reminder that part of your board requirements is to sign up for a shift per quarter to volunteer with us. So we would really appreciate y'all doing that for us. And a special shout out to somebody who doesn't have to, but saves our behinds a lot. And that would be Mr. Hancock and his sweet daughter and family. And we love when they volunteer with us.
That's great. Thank you, Sherry. We're going to try to get the volunteer corps beefed up this year. Okay. Well, I think we've come to the point in our meeting where I tell you our next meeting date. Since I'm working off of a computer and a cell phone, I have to look down, but it's going to be Wednesday, November 17th at 3 p.m. We'll do it via Zoom again. And we'll just, we'll keep some regular communications between now and then because the work of the CVB definitely and the CVB board continues between these meetings. So you'll be hearing from me and, things that are going on that happen outside this meeting time. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Or do I need a motion to adjourn, Sherry? I do, yeah.
You do.
I make
I
a
move
motion
to
to
adjourn this meeting.
All right, Alex, I guess Damon, do you second?
I second.
Okay, Wanda does. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for your hard work, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.